Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Hadevamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vanshirshibhyo Mahabhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarahitaha Prajnanaghana Pratyagartho Brahmaivasmi Brahmaivasmi. Vedantartha Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Sannyasine Nanavadi Nagendra Sanghapavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohatvat Divakaraya Bhagavat Pada Vidhan Bibhrate Tasmai Bhashyakrite Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane. So we have seen that misery does not miss even the best of people. No matter how intelligent, how popular, how powerful, how wealthy, how healthy the person is going to be, how skilled the person is going to be, yet the misery will find its way to come and grab you. Then the question is, it can arise in any situation, anywhere. In fact, misery is waiting for even a slightest of opportunity to present itself. At the very drop of hat, it will be there. This misery seems to have two causes. One is an immediate one, and the other one is the absolute cause, in the sense, the true cause of misery. One is situational, and the other one is causal in its form. Causal, whatever it causes. And we have to deal with both. So Arjuna's problem is at two levels. The misery, which is now due to this situation, and misery which follows every individual like this shadow. Dealing with the situational ones, situational misery, one may get out of the situation, but the misery does not miss you. It manages to present itself in another form. So somebody is unhappy because he cannot get married. So he says, since I am single and I'm not married, I'm miserable. Then somehow he is able to convince some girl, and then he gets married. Now there is misery due to other reasons. I am married, but my job, the money that I am earning is not sufficient to support both of us together. There is money, but we are waiting for a baby to come and it is not. Then there is a baby. Then the misery changes. And then, my wife does not pay as much attention as she used to pay before. Now there is still another one. Now you dote on the child, and the child is growing up. And then, I feel that, he is not up to the mark. Something is wrong. And so there is always going to be a worry. And what will he do? What will my child do? So misery keeps on. Situational, you may get out of one situation and land up in another situation. So the people who left India thinking, life in India is tough, let's go outside. जाके वहां पे, now they don't have Indian problems, they will have the problems of that country. You see, therefore the misery does not cease. Situational solutions are conditional solutions. And this misery is due to one absolute condition, and which is ignorance. Most of us spend our lives only dealing with situations, but nobody really thinks that what is it whereby no matter whichever situation it may be, the misery won't be there. I am just looking at a situational, an immediate solution. And therefore, a person, when he is able to look for the true cause of misery, then will seek the way out of misery. He will not simply seek a way out of situation. Arjuna is able to appreciate both. He wants to get out of misery as well as out of that situation. How? How then? And therefore, lost in that maze, in that chakra view, Arjuna really is not able, he is confounded. So also we are also confounded, confused, but we think we have a great degree of clarity. You may have clarity about situational problems, but why does a situation become a problem? Have you ever questioned that? If the same situation was not to torture you, would you ever call it a problem? So situation becomes a problem because it is presenting misery. So getting out of a situation is not exactly as getting out of misery. what is it that causes dukkha? What is the real cause of dukkha? Somebody says that, me not having sufficient money is the cause of problem. I'm not having adequate money. Adequate means adequate fulfill my innumerable desires. I am not happy because I do not have absolute power. I want to be on the top of everyone and everybody else should only obey my orders. I want to be in the most powerful situation. And even if a person is able to reach the topmost rung of the ladder, misery does not go away because now going on the top means living a lonely life. Nobody to share your joys and whatever are your other things. Nobody. And you know that people are sticking to you because you have money or power or you are in a position. But all these people who are flocking around you will soon flee away once you are empty. Once that, if that money or that wealth, popularity is not there with you, they will all slowly empty the space and leave you open. So actually, in spite of the crowd that is there around of the admirers, etc., the person still feels lonely. Another thing is that position on the topmost rung is actually unenvious position, unenviable, unenviable position. Why? Because that person is tremendously insecure. And this is well demonstrated in the Puranas. In the Puranas, we come across this character of the Pauranika Indra. Indra is the king of heaven. Okay. King of heaven. In that heaven, in that Svargaloka, when Indra observes that if there is any mortal on the earth who is doing intense tapashcharya, Indra becomes insecure because of him. That is he going to be a contender to my position or what? And he will immediately send Madan Kumar and party. All those nymphs and musicians to allure him, to divert him. And so keeping my position insecure, even that topmost position also brings insecurity. Misery never misses. Now a person who is able to see this, then is going to ask a question as that, yes, there can be some way found to negotiate between these situations and somehow get out of the situation. But how do you really get out of misery? Does it really end or does it not? And we have heard it from the great rishis in the Upanishad that misery ends in knowing Brahman. So naturally now I want to know that whereby all this dukkha can finally come to an end. So that dukkha can come to an end. Give me that solution. So we have this situation. Because this is the question, as well as there is a question as a person overpowered by shoka and moha. Now you understand what is shoka, sorrow, misery, grief. All this is shoka only. Even anger is also misery. Oh, an angry person means a person who is who is sad. Sadness need not only bring about, crying and wailing. Sadness will also bring anger. It can different people, different, but it is sadness. So an angry person is a sad person. He's sad about something and his response to that sadness. In fact, that sadness is expressing itself as anger. His dissatisfaction is expressing as anger. Shoka and moha. There is moha. Moha means delusion. Delusion means confusion. Wrong understanding. Erroneous understanding is moha. Under shoka and moha, then a person is going to make decisions. And if those decisions are not in tandem with dharma, then those situations are going to become even more grave, leading only to more sadness and more misery. Even if a person follows the righteous path, only the ego, which is what an erroneous conception, becomes stronger and stronger. How then should one get out of it? Therefore, now for Arjuna, there is only one thing, and that is the one who in whose life situations have been tougher than anybody in the history can ever imagine, and that is Sri Krishna. Even if you look upon Sri Krishna as a historical figure, you will find that the whole life is filled with only challenges of monstrous volume, size. Being born in a jail, right since the day he was born, people wanted to have him killed. The attempts of murder on Sri Krishna throughout the childhood are all well known, because till Putana and Kamsa and all those things, growing up, becoming the king of Dwarka, etc., until the last moment, everything has been only situations were tougher than anybody else. No figure in the history has ever had situations more tough than Sri Krishna to face. And yet there was one thing which prominently remains about Sri Krishna, is Sri Krishna's smile. That his joy, his peace never ever faded, never ever withered, no matter what the situation was. The peace that he carried, the joy which surrounded him, never withered. In fact, wherever he went, the joy, the peace was so infectious that anybody that he spoke to, touched, was infused with that joy and peace. Whether it was a human being or an animal or a bird, it did not matter. The dense joy could percolate even the pores of any being, any person, any age, any gender. And therefore, for Arjuna, there cannot be a better teacher. Arjuna sees this and he is going to say that Krishna, show me a way out of this misery, because there cannot be a better teacher than you. He is going to say, and therefore let us remember that Arjuna is not only asking a situational solution, but Arjuna is asking for an absolute solution. It is only when a person asks for and seeks absolute solution, your spiritual journey has begun. Because what you are asking for is Brahma. What you are asking for is Paramatma. Not a God in the heaven or somewhere else. There where all misery ends. What is it? Brahma Vedapnoti Param. Shokatigo Bhavati. Tarati Shokam Atmavit. The one who knows the true nature of the self goes beyond all misery. Which means that Shokatiga Bhavati goes beyond. Now that the misery has no significance for such a person, has gone. End of dukkha. And this is the subject matter of the Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and Vedanta as whole. But mind you, there is something more. There is a question, as though we all want an absolute cessation of misery. Who is ready over here to say, well, I am ready to keep some misery in some form? Who wants it? People, anybody. Is this okay? Are you people able to hear or not? Somebody has sent some message, I don't know what. Is the audio okay? Video okay?
Yes, Swamiji, absolutely okay.
All right, fine. Because there was something. Now, the issue is, though we all want this thing to happen, and this will happen by knowing Brahman, in knowing what Brahman is. Brahman is attained in knowing Brahman. We are not saying Brahman is attained in time and space. When it is said that will attain, it means it is a promise that sometime hence Brahman will be attained. We are not saying that. Not here, but in Swargaloka you will attain. It is again a promise. The solution is not in time and space. That means what? It means that it is already attained. It is already attained, and therefore we are not making a promise it will be attained sometime, somewhere. If Brahman is attained, then why am I so miserable? Because you do not know. Not knowing is the problem. Not knowing means ignorance, and solution to ignorance is knowledge. Therefore, knowing Brahman. So he who wants to know Brahman now, is the person qualified or not? And therefore comes into the picture a topic before we proceed ahead, and the topic is, who is the qualified seeker for this knowledge? Who is a qualified seeker? A qualified seeker means the one in whom the fructification will take place. Qualified seeker does not mean that somebody who is, favorite child of God or anything. That's why he gets, he's that we are not talking about a freak, gifted. God gifted him specially. Why he's God's son-in-law? That God will give him some special things. Yeah? What are you saying? A qualified seeker means the one in whom the knowledge will fructify. And what is the fructification of knowledge? Avidya nivritti, annihilation of ignorance. In annihilation of ignorance, in destruction of ignorance, that whatever is caused by ignorance will also be destroyed. Because when the cause is destroyed, the effect is also destroyed. The rule is nimitta. Nimitta means the cause. Nimitta bhave naimittikasya bhavaha. Nimitta is the cause. If the cause itself is not there, the effect which is because of that cause will also be destroyed. Nimittasya bhave, nimitta bhave, naimittika bhavaha. Nimitta and naimittika. Okay. What is fructification of knowledge? Destruction of ignorance. That destruction of ignorance means end of sorrow, end of misery. How did that happen? Through knowledge. Not knowing what? Chemistry, biology, share market, politics. Knowing what? Knowing Brahman. Knowing the nature of self. And this has happened. And therefore, for the knowledge to be fructified, who is such a person? The right receptacle for this knowledge. Where this is going to be possible. And since Sri Krishna is imparting this knowledge to Arjuna, are the necessary qualifications present in Arjuna or not? Because if you are going to throw the seed on the ground should be such where the seed will germinate, fructify. Otherwise, you're throwing it on a rock, the seed will get scorched in the sun or it will rot in the water. We need a ground which is good enough to allow the seed to germinate, to grow, to fructify. So who is such a person? And is Arjuna one such or not? So we will have to understand Arjuna through whatever he is saying and then generalize that these are the qualities which make a seeker a qualified person. These are the necessary qualities which should be present. In absence of which will we say this qualification. However, the person should have vivek, the ability to discriminate. He should have discrimination between nitya and anitya. What should he have discrimination of? Nitya and anitya. Nitya means that what is permanent, and anitya means that what is transient, impermanent. Because you want that what is permanent. You want that which is not corrupted by time, but all your energy, emotion, intelligence is spent only in chasing that what is not impermanent and trying to make what is impermanent as permanent. We all sit on some ashakya anushthan. Ashakya anusthana means an impossible mission. Somebody goes and sits on the bank of Ganga. All his life he wants to draw a line on the river. 50 years he's sitting over there with a pen trying to draw a line on the flowing water of Ganga. And he thinks that someday he will be able to do it. Ashakya Anushthan, this will never happen, sir. On the flowing water of Ganga. Ashakya Anushtana. That is what we are all engaged in doing. We are all engaged in wanting to transform that what is impermanent into permanent. Because we do not have this discrimination, what is permanent and what is impermanent. If you knew what is impermanent, you are not going to waste your time, energy, and intelligence in making impermanent as permanent. You will look at that what is impermanent, you will know its utility, you will be able to use it, you will be there with it. And when it finishes, when it is exhausted, you happily will be able to let it go. Nitya and anitya vivek. The second thing is vairagyam. Out of these fourfold qualities, the first one is vivek, The next one is called as Vairagyam. Vairagyam simply means that you are able to set your happiness free from any dependence. We think that we are creating conditions to be happy. When you are going to say, I will be happy only when I eat an apple. So that means that you cannot be happy when there is a banana. You can't be happy when there is a guava. You can't be happy when there are grapes. You can't be happy when there is mango. Only apple. So are you creating a condition to be happy, or have you created a condition to be unhappy? What have you created the condition for? Decide. Because not always you can get an apple. If somebody decides that I will be happy only on Monday, so which means, has he created a situation, condition to be happy, or has he created a condition to be unhappy for 6 days? And on Monday also, when you are going to be happy, you already will be worried because this Monday is going to finish and Tuesday is going to begin. This maturity then is Vairagya. Ihalaukika paralaukika Vishaya Viraga. Not making your happiness dependent on any object of this world or even of any celestial. Ihalaukika paralaukika. Because in a lot of theologies, you will find people who are going to say, well, we do not want anything of this world, because if you are able to give up the pleasures of this world, better, bigger pleasures will be waiting for you in the heaven. This is the terrorist psychology. He says that I will die over here in a suicide bombing. I will suffer, I will die. But then after I have got nymphs and all those things waiting for me in the heaven. Going to the heaven, they are not waiting to meet God over there. They are going to meet those beautiful girls, nothing else. Because they could not get into a nice club or a pub over here. That's why now they have found a big, better one. You understand? Ihalaukika and paralaukika Vishaya Viraga. Ihalaukika means of this world as well as of that. I do not want anything of this world or that world, because none of them can really deliver to me what I want. So the person is not angry at the world. He is not even dissatisfied with the world. He does not despise the world. He simply says, it is of no use to. This is Vairagya. This is maturity. That's why Vairagya is maturity. As a child, how dependent were you on your dolls and kites and tops and bats? भौरा खेलते थे, टॉप्स, कितने जमा गए, मार्बल्स, स्टैम्प्स. Did you do that? I don't know. Our days were like that. चुराते थे. Win, I used to win. I will not that good. You see, and that time it was your treasure. But do you even remember that now? Because you have your happiness is not dependent on those dolls and marbles, kites and tops. You have outgrown it. Outgrowing, which means growing out of dependence, then is maturity. When you are able to outgrow this dependence on any objects, whether those objects belong to this world or some celestial world, now with this kind of a mind, which is endowed with vairagyam, this maturity, when a person strives for this maturity, because rest of the physical maturity, etc., is a natural outcome of the, chronological, what do they say, development. But this maturity does not come just because one has grown in age. It is when the person becomes acutely aware, looks at situations, objects that he is hankering for, longing for, evaluates it, observes it, flip and flop, both the sides. Flip flop, what do they say? There is a flip side, so there must be flop side also to it. No? Has to be there. If there is a flip side to something, then there is a flop side also. Both the sides of the coin. A person should be able to see. This is pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmanaha nirvedanaya. Pariksha means pariksha karke. Observed it well. This word pariksha is also a very interesting word. Generally, we understand pariksha means examination. To examine. It actually means, pari means from all the sides. Ikshanam means to see. Examine means to see it from all various possible angles. We look at something only from one angle just because I like it, I want it. But have you ever thought, what is its other side? Why should it not be wanted? Have you ever looked at the other side of it or not? When a person thus looks at both the sides, now he will be more balanced. Till then the person is not balanced. He is lopsided. Pariksha loka, he sees everything over here. Karma chitan brahmana. Because everything that you get is nothing but karma chita. It is brought to you by the karma. Now, therefore, what does that Brahmana say, that person say? Nirveda Maya, he gains that Nirveda, which is maturity, Vairagya. Therefore, please do not just understand Vairagya means a person gives up all the pleasures of his life for the sake of God. For the sake of God, I have given up everything. So what gain will God have if you give up? Huh? And why is God against you being pleased that your God wants you to give up pleasures? You never ever give up anything that is pleasant. You give up only those things which are not pleasant. Because he does not find it to carry any value of happiness or pleasure in it, and hence it is given up. So therefore, don't try to oblige God by saying, "Tumhare vaste maine de sab chhod diya." Tumhare vaste kya choda? It was not worth it, and hence it was given away. Don't try to oblige God. तुम्हारे लिए मैंने सारी दुनिया छोड़ दी। वो हिंदी फिल्म्स के लिए वो अच्छा है। So that then later on you have a nice strong point to argue, तुम्हारे लिए मैंने छोड़ा, तुमने मेरे लिए क्या किया? Now this can become a nice thing for you to fight. You have a strong, मैंने छोड़ा, मैंने घर छोड़ा, ये छोड़ा, वो छोड़ा, तुमने क्या छोड़ा मेरे लिए? कुछ। Now that's why how great I am. That is the final thing. Vairagya. This is called, the second quality is Vairagya. The third thing which is essential is actually a group of 6 qualities. And let us put it this way, that this group is actually your peace, Shanti. What is it? And there are 6 of these. Shama. Shama means the Shanti of mind. That when one is able to pacify the mind is actually what is called as Mano Nigraha, controlling the mind. When do you need to control it? When it is peaceful, you want to make it disturbed, so that is called as the control of mind. When the mind is already disturbed, you need to pacify it, and if you are able to pacify the mind even when the situations are tough and topsy-turvy, patience, dhairya, courage, then that Shanti of the mind is called as Shama. Actually, it is what? Mano Nigraha. What will it be called as? Mano Nigraha. The second quality is the
Dhamma.
Dhamma. क्या बोल रहे हैं आप? Sham. Sham कौन है? No, this is Shama, not Sham. ये शाम मस्तानी वाले no, not that Kshatriya. This Shama. Shama. Then the second one is Dhamma. It is Indriya Nigraha. When the senses become restless, if you are able to pacify. That is called as Dhamma. Shama, Dhamma, Uparati. Uparati is withdrawal. To give up. Withdrawal actually means to give up. Uparati. Titiksha. Endurance. It is also Shanti again. When one has the tenacity, the capacity to endure, what needs to be endured is the tough situations, etc. Endurance. Sahanam sarvadukhanam. To tolerate, to endure. Forbearance. Titiksha. Sahanam sarvadukhanam apratikara purvakam. Chinta vilaparahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. This is that Shanti. Okay, titiksha. Begin from wherever you think you can apply these qualities. Because this is actually the wealth, the spiritual wealth that one must collect. One does not become spiritual because people, you have impressed others, that others call me spiritual, others call me Guru Mai, Guru whatever, Guru Baba, whatever. Hey, only when there is abundance of these qualities in a person, then this is a spiritual person. A person is not spiritual because he sees auras or he is able to see some chakras or anything. Flying angels, dead people. This is what is required. Please don't ask me that people should not see the dead people or not. They may, but they are not going to sit in this scheme and they are not qualified for Brahmashya. Can people see dead people? You either ask those people or the dead people. And if you have to ask those dead people, then you know how to communicate. You will also have to go where they are. Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha. Shraddha is Astikya Buddhi, Shastra Pramanyam. That one is able to see that the Shastra is a valid means of knowledge. The Shastra is not over here to tell you about any physics, chemistry, biology. Shastra is here to tell you only two things: what is Dharma and what is Brahma. Naturally, what it means, what is Dharma and what is Adharma, because that is one category. The other one is what is Brahma. These are the things which cannot be shown by any other pramana, and therefore the only pramana which you need to acquire is Shastra. Knowing this fact about the Shastra as a pramanam, and pramanam with regards to Dharma and Brahma. is called as Shraddha. This is that Shraddha. Over here, we are not going to tell you that Shraddha means you have faith in God and all this thing. That is okay. That God will take care of all problems. If it gives you good consolation, why should we disturb you? Okay, God can take care. Fine. But we are not going to say that this is the kind of Shraddha which is required for Brahmajnana. Then the Shraddha which is there is in the form of seeing Pramanyam, where in the Shastra. And if the Shastra is a Pramana, then for what is it a Pramana? Like if the eyes are the means of knowledge, then the eyes are the means of knowledge for what? Colors and forms. Nothing else. For like that, the Shastra is a Pramana. The Shastra is a Pramana for what? Dharma and Brahma. So if you are going to dislodge the Shastra, you will not know the Upanishadam Purusha. What is Brahma? You can know whatever else, but it is definitely not Brahma. We are not interested in that. Therefore, Shraddha. So, Shraddha is Shanti of Ahankara. So, Shraddha is also a form of Shanti. Ahankara ki Shanti. Or फिर Samadhan, which means to keep the mind undistracted. The mind does not get distracted, stays put with tenacity, does not get easily tired and gives up. That is called as Samadhan. These are the, and then finally mumukshutva. Mumukshutva means a desire for liberation is mumuksha. The one who has this desire then has the quality of being the mumukshu. So that quality of being mumukshu is called as mumukshutvam. Okay. Mumuksha, having this desire for liberation. These are the fourfold qualities which are required. And now, how have you understood these are the fourfold qualities which are required? Then we are going to say these fourfold qualifications are present in Arjuna. So we know through the Upanishad that these are the fourfold qualities that are required, and they are also present in Arjuna. Therefore, Arjuna is a qualified seeker. Now, other way around. Since Arjuna has these fourfold qualities, Arjuna becomes a qualified seeker. Okay. Arjuna has these fourfold qualities, and therefore Arjuna is a qualified seeker. Where did you find that Arjuna has these qualifications? Let us see that when we meet next. Before we go to the next shloka, this is a little passage that is necessary. So we will examine that a little bit when we meet next. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayana Sutra Bhashya Vande Bhagavata Punah Punaha. गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Thank you very much.